Hello, Dr. Uche back here again. How are you? Good to have you join me again. If this is on YouTube, I hope that you will hit subscribe and the notification bell so you know when I upload new videos. And also, I know some are watching on my Facebook page, Dr. Uche Books. There is also an Instagram page that we run at Dr. Uche Books and a bit of a Twitter presence, the same handle at Dr. Uche Books. Good to have you here. I come to discuss tips to help people write their biographies, autobiographies, memoirs. I also do share my love of fiction. I do book reviews on this channel, and I do children's book read-alouds, all because I believe in the power of stories to enrich our lives and to showcase our common humanity. So today I am going to be talking about biography writing. I have spoken before about ways to get around the whole overwhelming idea of writing a huge autobiography. So that's a bit too much for most of us, right? The thought of it. Oh my gosh. Okay, I've got you. I get it. If you think that is too big a project for you, you may have seen from my other videos, I've given some tips about how you can zoom into certain aspects of your life. It doesn't have to be a full, coherent, detailed account of birth till that point. Sure, if you have the energy and stamina and want to do that, go right ahead. But if you're more inclined towards something shorter, you can also write something very meaningful that is shorter, okay? Today, I want to talk to you about something you may not have considered. Do you know that you can write up or dictate the content of your diaries and letters? Diaries and letters, and you have something worth saving for your family. Okay. Now, if you are like me, I am a very old millennial, or so-called Xennial. My generation is not quite Gen X. We came a little towards the end, and yet we were born just at the very beginning of the millennial, sort of millennial generational span, okay? So we're called Xennials, or very old geriatric millennials, okay? Because we saw the analog era, right? We grew up, we were children in the analog era when things were not quite so electronic. As we got into adulthood, the world went electronic, right? So email and the like, we got to see in our teens and early adulthood. Now, some other younger Gen Zs were born into the whole thing, but we were born during a time when people still wrote letters, okay? People still wrote a lot of letters. I think some people still write now, but at that time, there wasn't email. When I was a child, there wasn't email. So people still wrote letters and actually went to the post office and mailed it. And I have a book here I want to use to illustrate. This is somebody we all know very well who is now late, the great Nelson Mandela of the Republic of South Africa, the great anti-apartheid activist, right? This titan of a person. Now, we know that he wrote his autobiography, Long Walk to Freedom. It's one of my personal favorites. I very much loved the detail in that book and the chronological way he wrote it. So I think I've talked about that before, about how most autobiographies follow a chronology, and I happen to really like that. Very straightforward. It's very easy, because here I talk again about writing when you don't have writing experience. You're not a celebrity necessarily, but you have a story that is no less important, mind you. So Nelson Mandela, his Long Walk to Freedom is very well known. This is less well known. Conversations with Myself, foreword by President Barack Obama. And I took this, I collect such things, so I have a lot of such things in my collection, but I brought this to illustrate Okay, somebody we all know very well. To illustrate how, yes, you can write your life story, but you can also pull together things from your life that were significant, right? And it's not about how perfectly it is. At some point, anything about your life will be a gem for your family to have. Even now, even in your lifetime, but especially at some point later, right? We all come and go. So I wanted to use this to illustrate that it doesn't have to be a coherent life account. It can even be your diaries over the years that you pick up and you dictate the content. It could be letters you've written to people, letters you received. I guess letters you received because what you wrote to people you may not have access to, unless if you have somebody at the end, at the receiving end, who kept them, right? But here, on this first page, page 7, from a letter to Fatima Mir, dated 1st March 1971. Okay? So he pretty much writes down what was in that letter. I shall stick to our vow, never ever under any circumstances to say anything unbecoming of the other. Da 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 da. He writes this letter. The whole thing is here. Here is from a conversation with Richard Stengel, from his unpublished autobiographical manuscript written in prison. So there was actually part of his autobiography that was not published. Here's a lot from his unpublished autobiographical manuscript written in prison, okay? And I'm gonna go through here. There's a lot from that same manuscript, but here's from a letter to Winnie Mandela, conversation with Richard Stengel. There's a lot there. I'm looking for something else that's different and unique. And here's from a notebook, right? And the page of the notebook was inserted in this book, as you see here. And here's a conversation with Ahmed Kathrada about his trip through Africa in 1962, and on and on and on. And I wanted again to use this to illustrate to you that even pulling together the content of your diaries and journals, the content of letters you received over the years, if you kept them, that would make for very interesting reading, okay? You can pull it together, you can put it together in a book, and you can publish it. I was working with a client who I helped to publish their autobiography, and I remember asking her to get, now she had a story to tell, she had dictated her story, but I remember her telling me that she'd met some really important people in her life, and she had their letters and things like that they wrote to her over the years, and she had them in her possession. And I said, bring it on, let's put it in the book. So we were able to take pictures of those letters and actually insert it in the book. And, you know, she had a letter from the Pope, for example, you know, things like that that were really very, very unique and special. So there you go. That's what I have to talk about today. If you're not cut out for the long story, you can piece together content of your diaries and letters over the years, and you can publish it. And that will make for a worthwhile reading for you, your family. That will be a way to save your legacy, okay? There's so many different ways of doing the same thing. So let's get you started. Make a vow today that you're going to write, you're going to get something in print. And if it's not the whole story, you're going to piece together what you have. And that is a great start. And what I find is most people piece that together and they start saying, I need to add more flesh to it. Okay, here's this letter, but I remember what happened around that time. And there you go. They have 2 pages, right? Just thinking about that letter, remembering when the letter arrived, remembering when they read the letter, remembering what was happening at the time in their lives, in the world, and so on and so forth. So that can form a nice foundation for anyone. And that's all I have today. I hope you join me again next time. Again, this is Dr. Uche. You take care and stay well. Bye-bye.